Heyo, welcome everyone to Stay in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from new arcade developers, arcade owners, and operators, and just news in the space in general. Now this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be talking more about Galactic Battleground and how we ran our Interstellar 35 tour, where we went to 12 arcades in 14 days, spanning from Minneapolis all the way down to Houston, Texas, and all the way back. I've been with Galactic Battleground for over 5 years now. We've been showing the game off at conventions all over the country, and we're in arcades all over the country as well. You can try the game out. Or if there's an arcade near you that doesn't have it and you want it, let us know. We'll reach out. Now, I want to jump into what we're talking about this week, which is our Tour Interstellar 35 for Galactic Battleground. We named it that because we took I-35 all the way from Minneapolis down to Dallas, and we hit a handful of arcades on the way back as well. So why did we make this tour? The main reason that we made this tour was to show the game off to arcade owners and players from their own arcades. It's a lot harder to get someone interested in a game when they can't see it, they can't play it, they can't touch it. You know, the arcade space is very tactile, so you need to be able to see, play, touch, check these games out. So having the arcade in their location, even if it's just for a day or two, definitely helps them kind of get over some of the hurdles of, well, I don't know about the game. I've never seen the game. Is it a high quality cabinet? All these things. So being able to see it is massive, and it allows the players from their arcade to give them feedback on it. So where did we go? This was a pretty long trip. It was about 2 weeks on the road. We stopped in cities like Dallas, Austin, Houston. We went back to Dallas for a couple of days. Oklahoma City, Kansas City, and Des Moines, Iowa. Now, these were all awesome stops. I went ahead beforehand with all this and scheduled with everybody, reached out to arcades that wanted to do a demo, and we got it all worked out. So let's talk about each individual arcade. Our first stop was in Dallas at Free Play Arcade Dallas. That is their newest location. I believe they have 5 locations, maybe it's 4. My point of contact there was Arthur and Corey. Corey is the owner, and Arthur is the head of special projects. So he's the one that kind of figures out indies, what games to bring in, stuff like that, since Corey is managing the whole business as a whole. We hung out with Chris and Dre there for a while. Chris was kind of bringing people over to the cabinet to try it. It was a super fun day. Actually, both days were awesome. The arcade is incredible. They have a great selection of retro games. They've got a couple indies. They had Killer Queen in there. They had Enter the Gungeon, which was the first time I got to play that. I know that they have a Nidhogg at a different location. I know they have a Death Ball at a different location. I believe they have a Switch and Shoot 2, and I think a Retro Raccoons. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they have quite a few indie games amongst their businesses, and it's great to stop at a place like that to show off our game. And there will be one coming to Dallas Free Play, a Galactic Battleground pretty soon here. We're producing the cabinet now, and it should be shipped out in the next couple weeks here. That's the plan, at least. The next location we went to was in Austin. We were only in Austin for one day. There's a few locations that we went to that were only one day, and Austin was one of them. We hung out at the original Pinballz Arcade in Austin, which is a great arcade. They had an incredible pinball selection, a good chunk of retro stuff. They had some coin pushers. It was a little different than some of the other locations we went to. But they had a really solid selection of games, and even some modern stuff. They had DDR in there, Guitar Hero, some of the newer stuff. And it was an awesome space. Steve was the manager there. Awesome guy, really nice to meet and hang out with. He gave us some free passes, so we got to play while we were there. But it was really nice to show the game in more of. It feels more like a family entertainment center. I'm gonna say it just because of the game selection they had. It wasn't like a true retro or a true pinball bar. It kind of had everything. And this location on its own was a BYOB, so you can bring in alcohol that isn't opened, like one at a time kind of thing. You could check their website for the rules on that, but it was a different model that I thought was kind of cool. After Pinballz, we moved on to Austin, and we were in Austin for 2 days. We had 2 locations in Austin. The first was Einstein's, which was a bar that had an arcade. The owners of the restaurant, general manager of the restaurant, it's kind of a family affair there. And then the son, Greg, manages all the games in the two locations. They have two locations. And we met him in the Houston location. We had both cabinets in there. We got to hang out for a little bit, play some games. It's a smaller arcade, not as large as some of the other ones we visited, but we wanted to check out different atmospheres of arcade games so that we can kind of figure out where we're going to fit best, the best people to reach out to, try to get some different numbers too, so we can see what earnings would be like in different locations. After we were done with Einstein's, we headed on to the Game Preserve, which is farther south. This is near the NASA location. I believe that there's 2 or 3 game preserves, if I'm not mistaken, but I know there's the NASA one, which is the one we visited. And Rusty is the owner there. I know he's got some business partners involved with it too. I want to have him on the show so that he can tell the whole story, because he told me while I was there and I was taking in so much information over that couple of days that it was hard to remember everything about his story. But it was really cool the way that they want to keep everything authentic and pure and basically bring these games back to the glory that they were in the past. And he had a good selection of pretty rare classic games, as well as, the quintessentials. You got to have Pac-Man, you got to have Galaga. He had those, and a great pinball selection too. He was very receptive to us doing a demo, and we really appreciated being able to hang out in his arcade, showing off both cabinets. We had the upright and the cocktail there, and they went pretty well on both. And we also met Charlie of Joysticks, which is a rental location. Charlie's got a handful of different games that he rents out to, whether it be a corporate event or a birthday party or whatever it may be. You can rent it for a day or a week or longer. And it's a really cool business model to check out if you're in the Houston area and you're looking to just, rent some games, or you need a connection to buy some games. I think Charlie at Joysticks would be a very good avenue to reach out to. Now, we moved on from Houston and headed back up to Dallas. So started the tour of Minneapolis, went down to Dallas, then went to Austin, and then went to Houston, and then came back up to Dallas. So we kind of did a little triangle through part of Texas. Didn't even scratch the surface on arcades in Texas. There's an insane amount out there. The location that we stopped at in Dallas on our way back, we actually had we had the upright cabinet in one location and the cocktail cabinet in a different. The cocktail was at Round 2 in Dallas, in the Bishop Arts District. The owner there is Kendall. Awesome guy. I've had him on the show. I will throw it up here, the little icon. You'll be able to check out his interview. And then the other location that we had the upright cabinet at was Arcade 92 in Flower Mound, so just outside of Dallas. I also had Michael on the show, the owner there, so we'll throw that up here in the corner. Michael was unfortunately out of town, so we weren't able to meet with him, but we spent some time with Brandon, who was one of the managers there, as well as Tyler, who was a technician, and got to try the game, play the game, talk to them about maintaining the games, what kind of stuff they have in Arcade 92, and plans for the future, because the Flower Mound location had only been open for about a month, I believe, at the time that we visited. So it was fresh. It was a very fresh location. So I thought these arcades were awesome, both of them in their own way. They both had a different aesthetic, different game selection. So let's talk about Round 2 first. So Round 2, owned by Kendall, used to be a FlashBack RetroPub. He purchased it from Jose because Jose was operating it from a distance, and it was a new location, so it was a lot more work than the Oklahoma City location was. And Kendall took this over, having already owned a business in the Bishop Arts District, as well as being a local, living in the area. So he knew the potential that the location had, as well as the kind of clientele that would be coming in. Speaking of clientele, shout out to Jonathan and Damien, two awesome dudes that we met at the bar that were hanging out with us both nights. Super funny guys. And they loved Round 2. Like that was their place. That was their local bar. And they were excited to see what Kendall was going to do in the future. So we'll find out, obviously. I'm sure I'll touch base with Kendall again. And it had a very, very cool aesthetic of a section of retro games, arcade cabinets, as well as a Killer Queen that they had just brought in. And then they had some consoles on the wall, and then they had three dedicated bays that were, themed differently, whether it be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Mario or Bowser's Castle. And they had consoles in there that you can rent the bay out for a little while and, hang out with your friends and play PS5 or Xbox One or Switch in these locations that are just a little bit different than the other classic games. And then Arcade 92 in Flower Mound was a very new location, so it was incredibly clean. All the games were super well maintained. They had a really good selection of pinballs, which we spent a lot of time playing pinball there. And they had a good mixture of classic games and new games, as well as they had consoles, they had a bar, they had some food. I think they had like pizza and wings and, just bar food, basically. And it was an awesome location. I really enjoyed my time at Arcade 92, and I would highly recommend it for anybody that, is down in Flower Mound and is looking for a good arcade to visit. We are in talks about bringing in an upright cabinet there, so that will hopefully happen soon. And then you'll be able to play, depending on which location they have it at, either in Flower Mound or McKinney, Texas. Now, after Arcade 92 and round 2 in Dallas, we finally left Dallas after, I believe it was a week, and started heading back to Minneapolis. We drove up to Oklahoma City with both cabinets, and we were loading into the location that we had spoken to before, which was FlashBack RetroPub. Jose is the owner there, and I had been in communication with him. And we were trying to bring our upright cabinet in, and it did not fit through the door. So that's one thing. If you're planning a tour like this and you're an arcade developer, maybe have a backup plan, because some locations aren't going to be able to fit your cabinet. We were like an inch off. But we made it work with the other cabinet. We brought in our cocktail cabinet, and that was posted up for, I believe, 2 days there. Awesome location. Again, they had far more of a basement vibe. Jose went into details on what the building looked like when he originally started moving into it. He mentioned that there was basically class 5 for a floor. There's still dirt floors. So it hadn't been completely updated. So they got some concrete in there and finished out the floors and everything. But it was a very cool location because it felt like that grungy 80s arcade kind of vibe that you're looking for. You're trying to get back to this raw arcade feeling, and that's exactly what FlashBack RetroPub was. They had a really cool DJ booth, which was basically an NES system. They had custom fabrication for that. They had it at the round 2 in Dallas too, which was why I could tell that they were clearly owned by the same person to begin with. And they had a really good game selection at FlashBack RetroPub too. And I spoke with Jose quite a bit more about the business side of this, from gathering games, learning how to repair them, looking for different locations, finding hidden gems in the middle of nowhere. I did a video with him a little while back, so I'll post that up in the corner here for you guys to check out if you're interested in hearing his story, and maybe it'll give you some insight if you're looking to open an arcade bar, of what to do and some pitfalls to avoid when setting everything up, along with Kendall and Michael and Corey and Arthur. They all have chimed in on that subject, and I mean, a wealth of knowledge from these guys. So we spent a couple days in OKC, and that went incredibly well. We had a group of women that were probably in their 40s that played for over an hour. Like, they were hogging the cabinet. They would not let anybody else on it, which was great to see. We wanted to get as many people to play the cabinet as possible, but these ladies were a lot of fun, and we enjoyed hanging out with them in the time that they were playing the game. So it just shows that Galactic Battleground is for all ages. Anybody can come up and enjoy the game. It's very easy and intuitive for people to play. Now, after OKC, we headed north a little bit farther. It was, I believe, 3 hours from there. We stopped in Kansas City, where we had 2 locations to demo at. One was DoubleTap, which is primarily a VR arcade bar, and Terry is the owner there. Awesome guy, very nice. Was super excited. I think he got back to me almost instantly when I brought up the idea of demoing a cabinet, and we brought our 4-player cocktail in there. Fit perfectly. He said it's right where they used to have a Pac-Man Battle Royale until they moved it out. And Up-Down in Kansas City as well, where I was speaking with Andy, who I believe is the AGM there, and then David, who's the communications manager for all of Up-Downs. We stopped at the Up-Down in OKC, but they didn't have any space, so we just checked it out, did a little walkthrough, and played some games while we were there. But the Up-Down in Kansas City had a completely different layout, significantly larger, and they brought in our 4-player upright cabinet. Set it right in between, I believe it was an NFL Blitz and 6-player X-Men, which both great games. Played both of them while we were there. But it was just kind of the perfect spot. They had a Simpsons and a Turtles and like all these beat 'em ups kind of in a circle right in the middle of the floor. And that's where we were, facing the bar. So the upright did incredibly well at Up-Down. And I think it's a fantastic place for it to go long term. I know all the Up-Downs are in a little bit of a different position right now with bringing cabinets in. I think it would do incredibly well at the Kansas City location. And I mean, we saw that it was getting played constantly. They had a really good selection of retro games. We participated in their Mario Kart tournament, which was a ton of fun. If you ever had an Up-Down and you get a chance to play in a tournament, just do it. I mean, they're always fun. You get to meet some of the people in the area. And I mean, if you're from the area, that's a great way to make friends and get more people that are into something you like in your network. Kansas City was cool. It was just a really good spot. All the arcade bars were super cool, and we enjoyed our time there. Again, I'm gonna have arcade footage the whole time that we're talking about these different arcades so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. The last stop on the tour was Up-Down in Des Moines. We met up with Jasmine, who was the GM there, and we had just the cocktail cabinet. It was the only one that we could fit through the door. The Des Moines location is a little bit tighter when it comes to fitting into the doorways. So if you wanted to do a demo there and something works out, then definitely bring your smaller cabinets to this location. They had a really cool layout. I love the Up-Downs that have multiple floors. So we were on the main floor just by the bar. You can hang out up there. There were a bunch of games, Time Crisis, some fighting games, obviously our game, some pinballs, skee ball, basketball, all that stuff was upstairs along with the bar and the pizza. But then if you go down, there's two staircases. If you get on the one by the entrance or the one by the kind of the back door, I guess you could call it. That'll bring you downstairs, and they had like Killer Queen down there, a switch and shoot, which Dan is local to Des Moines. That is where he's from. So, of course, they would have a switch and shoot there. And I think that was it for indies, but they had a ton of games in the basement and a bunch of pinballs, Mario Kart, some more skee ball, all the stuff that you want to see. And they nailed the aesthetic. Like I was talking to David when I was in Kansas City about what Up-Down is aiming for, and they're aiming for your rich friend's basement from the 80s. Like that's what you're looking for, is like this basement that's dimly lit, that's got a whole bunch of games in it, and it's just the whole basement is the arcade. That's what they're shooting for, and I think they absolutely nailed it with pretty much every location I've been to, and now I've been to 5 or 6 of them. And that kind of wraps it up with where we went. Those were all the different locations we went to, and it's pretty easy to get this stuff planned and make it happen. Obviously, people that are somewhat intrigued by this idea of doing a tour with their indie game would be curious as to how much it costs. And I'm going to be completely upfront and transparent with this. I have a family discount through Hilton, and that's how we booked all of our hotels. I think it came out to just around $2,000 for us to book the hotels. And then the trailer for 2 weeks to move the cabinets was around $500-600. And then obviously you're going to equate in gas and, food and stuff like that, maybe another 1,000-ish. So, to do all of it for under $4,000 isn't bad, considering you only need to sell a cabinet or two to break even on it, but you get to expose it to so many people and so many different arcade owners. I think the benefit significantly outweighs the cost in that aspect. Selling 2 cabinets to 12 different arcades, and then, you get to build a connection, meet these people, see what the arcades want, see what the players want. It was very eye-opening to me. It gave me a better perspective on how we're tailoring the game, how we're tailoring the cabinet, who we're really focusing on pleasing with these, because you got to be able to make the arcade owner money, but also engage and entertain the guests that come to the arcade. So you need to be adding value to the arcade location. And I feel like that's something that the indie space is really, really working on. A lot of the games that are coming out are doing a better job of that. And that's why I'm optimistic about where this is going. So how to plan it? Everything was just cold calling. Honestly, not even going to deny that. I just shot out some emails, made a couple phone calls, spent a couple weeks planning everything. And then once I had the dates and the locations set, then I started doing the hotels and started planning the backside of it, because if you don't have anywhere to go, there's no reason to book anything. So get your locations down first, and then after that, you can start planning things out on top of that. Overall, I think the trip was awesome. I meant to get this video out a lot sooner. It's been incredibly busy, and I did record it once, but I had no audio, so here's the second shot at it. If you're thinking about doing something like this, or you're an arcade owner that's interested in maybe doing a demo with an indie arcade game, feel free to reach out. You can jump onto our Discord. I can give you more information, or as an arcade owner, you can line you up with some different indie developers so that they could do a demo at your location, because we've got developers all over the country now. And, you know, maybe there's one in your backyard that you had never even heard of. I just want to say thank you for checking it out. Thanks for following along on the journey. Thanks for supporting Galactic Battleground and all of Indie Arcade Wave, everybody that's watching. If you like what we're doing here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It'll continue to grow the wave, and we can all ride it together. We have both cabinets available for sale. The Indie Arcade Wave website should be coming up soon. We've got our 4-player Konami cabinet, which I'll throw up, as well as our 4-player tabletop cabinet for Galactic Battleground, available for sale on the Galactic Battleground website right now, as well as the t-shirts. So we have the Galactic Battleground full print, we have a comic print, as well as the Indie Arcade Wave shirt too. Those are available on galacticbattleground.com/store. And until next time, peace.